most people have no idea how they appear when they speak. You have no sense of it. You spoke, you had a feeling about it, but you don't have the proof. Gravitas is this thing where the audience feels that you feel them, and you're so connected with them, and yet you are still able to be at a higher status. So you're connected from a higher status, and what you're doing is you're bringing everybody to the same higher status. There is the other way. You can just do the work well for people and rely on them to do the word of mouth for you. You can try and do that, but I don't think you're going to get the success. So if you come out and you are someone who is aloof, you have to be congruously aloof. People are going to buy that. And then there's a flip side as well where they overact it, right? Where you have someone who's purposely going on and doing a strange old accent, It's like, that doesn't fit. And that is a gravitas equation. It is about the right thing for the audience. It's balanced against the audience. What is the audience going to believe? There's a falsehood which many people carry around with them, which is the idea that
hello, you beautiful people. Welcome to the Solo Source Podcast. My name is Joeri, and on this show, I have honest conversational chats with people who work for themselves, sharing real stories, some practical insights, and maybe even some tips you can take forward on your own solo journey. Hey, on today's episode, I am joined by Joe Augustin, who is a coach and storytelling expert with 40 years of show business experience. Joe helps executives and business owners craft compelling and moving speeches and deliver presentations with a level of confidence, presence, and impact. In this conversation, we get into storytelling, gravitas, and executive presence, and why being brilliant at what you do might not be enough if people do not understand your value. We talk about confidence, authenticity, and even status, and why your message can quickly get drowned out in a world that is filled with noise. I'll be back with some of my thoughts at the end, but for now, enjoy my conversation with Joe Augustin. You started in show business, and now you coach leaders and executives. How did that change happen?
Well, first of all, you get fired from the job. I was in mainstream media, I guess you can say. Did radio for 25 years, doing morning shows and stuff, and like that. And this is about the environment that I come from as well. This is not a more Western kind of media where you want to have engagement. You want to have the audience, sort of like engaging in sometimes in energetically emotional ways, right? So I always feel that if you do media well, you're going to get complaints. Now, when I was doing what I was doing, the things that I was doing was trying to push the envelope all the time. And the reward for pushing the envelope, usually for my managers, means that they had to attend some other meeting. When I'm doing that, I'm constantly pushing something when all they want is something that's a little bit lighter, go easier on this, don't push so hard. It's a disincentive, right? So in that process, I think I wasn't playing their game, and that was new. I mean, the idea is one of the lessons that I learned from that really was always understand the game you're playing, and you can decide whether you want to play the game too. So two things combined there. One is my stubbornness as well, as in like I recognized the game, but I had the stubbornness to say that I didn't want to play the game, and I tried to enforce my will or impose my will, and I don't own I don't have the keys to the castle, right? So I don't own the place, so I don't get to call the shots.
Where do you go from there? What did you do? Did you go, I need to make some money, there's something I want to do? How do you make the transition to coaching?
Yeah, so what happened was along the way, while I was doing the other thing I was doing as in broadcasting, people approached me to do different things and say, can you do this? Can you do that? And one of the things that I was very pleased to have come to, and this is one of those things where you only are grateful in retrospect, right? Because I always had this thing. I said, I wished that I could make my entire living from the thing I loved, right? So I really wished that broadcasting was going to be the thing that made me all the money and fame that I wanted. Unfortunately, the way the business is designed, and again, because I don't own the keys to the castle, only part of that is true. So I got a bit of fame by being on the broadcasting side of things. And so with some level of disdain, I actually took on other kinds of jobs as well. So I the very diverse, income that came from hustling and doing all kinds of other work, right, with my talents. So the fame kind of helped to create those opportunities in voiceover, hosting, emceeing, and stuff like that.
Oh, hey, quick one. If you are enjoying this episode, you can do me a massive, massive favor. You can leave me a like, leave me a comment, even a question if you want, or share this episode with somebody who could really use this right now. All right, let's get back into the episode.
As an MC, I was also in a situation, MC and a voiceover, I was always in a situation where I could see what they were trying to do, what they're trying to achieve in a commercial sense, right? So on stage, they get an MC to deliver stuff. They bring on their speakers, and many times all those speakers would be quite terrible, right? So you'd have people who were good at designing the tools of the business that they were good at, or they were good at the administration tasks that they had, but they weren't very good with the next part, which is how do you get an audience to come along with you, or how do you communicate things so that the audience like I think if you're doing it well, the audience is kind of like nodding with you and they're going yeah 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 instead of looking at their phones, right? Along the way, someone asked me and said, "Hey, would you like to do some coaching? Consider it, right?" And I'm always open to things, right? And I'll be very honest as well. One of the first things I always ask is how much. What's in it for me? Um, so it was significant enough for me to go like, oh, okay, I'll do that. I can do that. And over the years, what's happened right now is in that respect, I am now one of the highest paid presentation coaches that I know, and I work for clients in that particular strata as well because I want to work with interested people. I want to be working with someone who is saying that this is really important stuff. I'm not here just to tick off a box on my hobby list. I really wanted to get good at this. I want to do it fast, and I'm willing to do the work. And here's a bunch of money to for your time.
Speaking, do you enjoy being a speaker?
Enjoy the idea of it. I mean, I think what I do on podcasts and interviews and stuff like that, when I'm having conversations, I feel that I'm doing that. When I'm on radio, I think I'm doing that. When I do my live streams, I think I'm doing that. What I haven't done, which is I think what most people think is the speaker, is the speech on stage, the keynote speech, the actual start of the event. What I do, which is in the same realm, is I'm the master of ceremonies. What I do is a very short version of what most keynote speakers should do, and I'll say that a lot of keynote speakers don't do what I think they should do, which is really to set the tone, to make the rest of the meeting run along, and to create the sense of purpose and movement and motivation. So in that sense, I'm doing the speaking. So I'm personally challenged though, because right now I do a lot of coaching for speakers, full-on speakers who do full-on keynote speeches. And because the expertise that I bring to them is storytelling, right? So what I help them with is what I call industrial strength storytelling. And some people ask, well, what does that mean? I say, well, you can always tell a story the way your dad might tell it, or you can tell the story the way Spielberg might do it, right? So I want you to think more Spielberg. I'm going to edit the story. I'm going to change the angles. I'm going to change the pace, and I'm going to help you tell a story that people are going to really remember.
What makes somebody a great speaker then? We talked about storytelling. Is it gravitas? Is it presence? Is it the story arc? Is it what makes them a great speaker?
It's a combination of some or all of the above, or all that you mentioned. I would say it's contextual as well, right? So some people ask, say, can you be a great speaker if you just have really good content? And I can say, look, novelty works. If I were a terribly boring speaker, really boring speaker, but I was delivering to you the secrets to whatever it is that your heart desires, and I do it methodically, and it's real, and I've just got information, and it's new, and you haven't heard it before, I'm a good speaker. The challenge for me is, okay, well, if you're not all that, and if you haven't got all the best information, and novelty is not the thing you rely on, that's the challenge of being a great speaker. So Great speakers understand that emotional relationship that they have with the audience, that you have to, first of all, bring the audience in. You have to let them know that you have a sense of them. And that's what gravitas actually is. Gravitas is not what many people think it is, which is like, if I stand here and I speak this way, and perhaps in a way that seems very well educated, I have gravitas. It's not what it is. Gravitas is this thing where the audience feels that you feel them and you're so connected with them, and yet you are still able to be at a higher status. So you're connected, but from a higher status, and what you're doing is you're bringing everybody to the same higher status. So that's my thought in terms of what a speaker has to do. The rest of it is performance. You do have to learn some of these skills. You don't have to use all of them. You just have to pick up a few of them that are just going to elevate you from where you are usually.
Where do you start though? Because you've such a rich background. For you, this makes sense. It's probably second nature. For some people listening, going, look, I know I need to add some storytelling, some gravitas in my, maybe not as a speaker, but maybe in my presentations, maybe in my content. But where do you start?
So the first thing you need to do is get the equivalent of a mirror, right? So if you think about how the world has developed in the last 25, 30 years, right? Now, you remember being a kid and how when someone brought out a camera, no one wanted to take a picture? Oh, yeah, everybody got uncomfortable with it. And this includes the older people as well, right? And now when someone brings out the camera, everyone knows what to do. Everyone knows the angle that they're going to go for. It's basically about the feedback. It's basically about taking pictures and being able to see it. So the reason why it happened with photography is simple, because it got much easier to get the feedback. You can see the photograph almost immediately after, and you can then do something about that, right? So how this relates to speaking is this: most people have no idea how they appear when they speak. You have no sense of it. You spoke, you had a feeling about it, but you don't have the proof. So the first step is recording yourself. First step is getting a video or an audio recording or both, and going through that deeply disturbing process of hearing and seeing yourself and actually getting a sense of it for the first time. Knowing that this is the worst it's ever going to be, and that if you do it again and again and again, after a while, it's going to be perfectly fine. So that's where it starts. The next thing that I would say is search yourself for whether or not your content is worth listening to, and that's a really significant part of it as well. Because when you start talking and you feel that people are not listening, if that happens once, then maybe it's a bad room, right? But if it happens over and over and over again, maybe you're not a great speaker, or maybe the content isn't that interesting. So be prepared to go, okay, now my content, is it worthwhile? Would I bring this to the table? Is it truly interesting? And if it is, okay, then the next step is, okay, then what am I doing wrong with this? Your answers actually come, I would say, they're already hidden in plain sight. Watch your favorite movies, and many of the answers for what makes a good presentation or what makes a good speech are in there.
Yeah, in what way? As in the way actors just are on camera. Is that what you mean?
So great actors, they have that skill and they're doing it right. But the directors are also the storytellers that engage you, right? And there's a reason why things happen in a certain way, why there's a pace to things, why like what I just did there is making people go, what happened, right? That's a thing. It's a bit of communication. So all these movies that you watch, you can get to watch great performances as actors will show you what to do, right? So one of the things that is very unnatural is actually this: it's very unnatural for people to just sit down together and literally talk to each other and do nothing but talk. This is actually completely unnatural. So you learn to do other things like, grab a cup of coffee and start talking about things, or maybe touching your phone, or just little things as you have a conversation, because this is natural. This is the business, right? So if you watch shows, you realize that, oh, that happens a lot as well. Most people think that this is what a good presentation is. I'm going to look you directly in the eye and talk to you with great intensity, and maybe not even move my head. This is exactly what I should do. But it's just creepy. It's weird. Whereas natural conversation, natural presentations, especially when someone is thinking about things, people like to be in conversation with people who are thinking about things, not just reciting something. So if you think about what that conversation would look like, is people are going to pause. They're going to look for the right word. They're going to adjust. They're going to have trouble getting their thoughts together in time, right? And that's going to make you lean in and go like, oh, what's going to happen, right? So when you have a little bit of that skill, you begin to watch stuff, and of course, it makes movies less enjoyable in that sense for me, because I get to see all the acting, I get to see all the production, I get scared before everybody else, because I know, okay, this is the way they're going to do this, right? you know, but if that's the skill you want, then those are the skills you have to pick up and learn.
And once you see it, you cannot unsee it, I'm sure.
The delight is when you know the skill, and someone who is skilled, more skilled at it, uses that same skill to subvert you. So they're going for this. I mean, you've seen those movies as well, where you go like, okay, this is coming, that's coming. Oh, wait, hang on, that was surprising, right? And as as filmmakers, as speakers, whatever it is, when you see it, it's delightful as well. So it's using those rules. Learn the rules first so that you can break them to the delight of the audience.
Some people might be listening and thinking, well, I don't want to be a speaker, but I do need to present maybe a plan or something to clients. I do need to speak to people. You mentioned gravitas. What gives somebody gravitas right away? Or what breaks it?
What usually breaks gravitas is pretense. So when you're with someone who's authentic, they're just authentically themselves, and they're authentically there with you, they have gravitas. There's a saying in entertainment, right? If you really want to make it in my day, if you really want to make it in radio, what you have to do is to master sincerity. And once you fool them with that, you got it all, right? It's about performance. It's about consistent performance. So it's about congruity. You have to be congruous with what you are putting out. So if you come out and you are someone who is aloof, you have to be congruously aloof. The whole thing has to be it. And if you behave in a way that is completely correct, as in you, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, and you seem and look like and feel like exactly what you're putting out there, people are going to buy that. And in that sense, there's a sense of status there. That's status, and it's a bit separated from gravitas. What is interesting about gravitas is then connecting it with the audience. If you are someone who is truly regal, you have everything, you have all the wealth, you have all the connections, and when you're with an audience, you somehow are able to reach across and make the audience feel, and you're lifting them up, and you bring them along with you. That's gravitas. So for me, gravitas is that connection that you can have with the audience. And if I was to look a little bit deeper, it has a little bit to do with the status as well. Human beings, mammals in general, we're all about status. We're all looking to go up the status. It's built into our sense of survival, right? So we always want status. What we resent is someone trying to pull our status down. What we resent is someone who is looking down on us and not recognizing our worth, right? And so what you need to do if you want to work on gravitas, is be very aware of that as well, right? To sense where you are in the scheme of things, to go in and pitch yourself at a little bit. It's always about pitching yourself at a little bit higher, but your intention is not to cement that idea that I am therefore above you. What your intention should be, I feel, is to figure out how you can lift other people's status along with you as well. So you are high status, but you are bringing everybody up with you. And you'll find that just that simple thing of being consistent and congruous, along with always looking out to how to bring people along with you, that's going to give you a lot of gravitas. You've been there before where people give room to someone to behave in a certain way because they all understand that, oh, this person is like that, right? So that's that congruency piece as well. You've got to be within the story that people have for you as a person, as a personality. This has to do with you if it's important to you, because you may not be someone who actually wants to deal with other people. And if that's you, all power to you, because you don't need gravitas. That you're engaged in something else. You're going to be that first AI billionaire, the solopreneur that makes that money lightweight, because that's not your concern, right? But if you are concerned about engaging people, engaging audiences, then you have to take that part together. You know, again, I say all the answers are in good movies. You've seen a bad movie before where you go like, this guy is not real. This character is not real. It's overacted. It just doesn't seem right, right? What I would challenge you to do is go like, why is that the case? And usually it's little things, someone who is supposed to be the down and out person, who comes from a background where they haven't had so many opportunities. If they speak too well in that circumstance or in that story, you just lose the believability. You just go like, nah. And then there's a flip side as well where they overact it, right? Where you have someone who's purposely going on and doing a strange old accent, and it's like, that doesn't fit, right? So that's the congruity part. It is, and that is a gravitas equation. It is about the right thing for the audience. It's balanced against the audience. What is the audience going to believe? If you show up on stage for a presentation, you can show up overdressed for it, showing yourself to be out of touch, right? Everyone, we're going to have this. We have a business retreat. We're going to have it at a resort. Everybody's coming in, showing up in polo t-shirts, and you come up as the guest speaker, and you are dressed up in a tuxedo. That's just not connecting, not understanding where everybody is in the audience. But at the same time, you don't want to show up in that situation and be dressed up in shorts as well. You want to be just dressed up a little bit higher. Maybe you have the polo t-shirt, but you've got a sports jacket on as well. Got really nice, clean shoes. That sort of thing.
A bit in sync. But you
Yeah,
did say
aware.
before, people aware. I like that. So being aware of your environment and kind of being in sync. So I hear what you're saying around the gravitas and kind of leaning into what you. Can we just say like leaning into what you naturally are and what you do well? So if you're a bit more introverted, and I've seen this a lot over the years, people who are quite introverted who start creating content, they think they have to be loud, and I tell them you don't have to be loud. Play with what you have. But you also said people want to elevate their status a little bit. So how do you then kind of stay true to yourself, yet elevate your status? That's I'm seeing a bit of a conflict there.
So when I talk about this in terms of status, right? So it's quite simple. It's like, if I know something you don't and it's useful to you, I have a higher status than you, right? So that can be just the basis of it, to understand that you have a higher status. But if you're creating content like that, I know this more than you, but I wanna bring you along. I wanna raise you up. That's the equation that you can apply. So you can be an introvert and go like, okay, I know this stuff, I understand this, and I understand there's an audience that doesn't understand it. And what I want to do is to help this audience that doesn't understand to go from not understanding to understanding. If I deliver this service, what I'm going to get is some gratitude from it. It's going to be reciprocity or whatever it is, and I mean, the rest of it's about creating a business funnel and things like that. If you want to make some success from it, but just from a daily, I think from a daily perspective, we are just craving for someone to pay us some kind of attention, just the right amount, right? So if you're an introvert, you don't want someone to come and stand up and clap for you because that feels uncomfortable, but you just want to have someone to go like, hey, that was good, and that's plenty for you, right? Now this thing about presenting, there's a falsehood which many people carry around with them, which is the idea that People should just recognize me for what I do. People should just, I'm brilliant. People should like me for it. And I always ask them this question. Say, if you have a phone, what phone do you have? Why do you have that phone? And they'll come up with all the things. Oh, I like it because it has this and this and this. No, no, no. You have this phone because they told you about it and you saw yourself in the phone and therefore you bought the phone. Someone had to do that. You don't just make it and not do anything about this. This whole idea is, if I build it, they will come. No. If I build it and people know about it, then they will come.
Build it and they will come is a terrible strategy, particularly in a world with so much noise. If you're a solo professional working for yourself, a lot of my audience sell professional services like you. They might be coaches, might be consultants. What can they do to increase their presence? Or gravitas, like in meetings, what would you do?
Okay, so here comes the answer that everyone is hoping I'm not going to say it, right? More content, social media. It's right up there what we just talked about. People should know my stuff. People should, my work should speak for itself. It does not. What you have to do is create these little mini ads for what you do. Now, some of these ads might be, okay, at the end of it, you ask for a contact and say, hey, if you want to do this kind of stuff, just give me a call. My team is ready to engage with you, whatever it is. Some of these ads are just going to be, look, I'm just on here. I'm just sharing my stuff. And bit by bit, as you do that, your brand is being built. And it's the fastest way to do it. There is the other way. You can just do the work well for people and rely on them to do the word of mouth for you. You can try and do that. But I don't think you're going to get the success. You're going to be so frustrated by all the other people who do it half as well as you, but who do the social media, who's going to get all the work.
It's a tough lesson, but I think many people are realizing that. I literally put in the newsletter this morning, you don't have to create content. I always tell people, it's up to you. They'll come to me and they'll say, should I create content? It's up to you. Are you ready for a quick lightning round? I've got some questions just for you.
Sure.
I'm always very excited about.
The lightning round.
Joe, stage or boardroom?
I have to choose. Okay, I tell you what, I prefer what I do on stage. I am actually more afraid when I'm when a boardroom.
You're more afraid when you're in a boardroom. Why is that?
It's a different game. It's not the game that I am actually playing, because when I'm on stage, what's more important is my performance skills, right? What I'm doing on stage. It's not my administration skills or my ability to work out the business side of things. In a boardroom, this is where the tire meets the road. I can do a really good job and sell you the thing, but the thing I do not have. So it's not my job. I can help you if you got the thing. I can help you portray it and get it out there so that the board believes you. But I would know if I was doing it that I don't have it.
What's the one thing people instantly notice when somebody lacks confidence?
Well, when someone lacks confidence, you just go, they lack confidence. You actually see it straight away. That's actually how wired we are. Why leadership is such an important thing in the world. It's because we are looking to see who is worthy of leading us to this thing. And it is about confidence. We're drawn to confidence. And if you're looking for it, you will see it immediately. So yeah, if someone is looking for confidence, they will see it. If you talk about things like dating, right? I was thinking about when I was a kid, I had no game because I just had no confidence. I think what you need to do is to deliver, or what you need to do is to figure out how to convey that, right? Because what it has to, where conviction has to appear is not from this side. What you have to do is on your side, or the audience's side, they decide this guy is convicted, right? This guy really believes in what he's doing. This guy really, really knows what I can trust this person. But it's not something that you actually are going to put out and say, I really believe this. That's one of the signs. No one's going to believe you that way. So you need to think about that and learn about that. And this is where the idea of maybe a film, like making a film or film stories, this is where it comes from. I was coaching somebody the other day about giving a speech, and they had a fantastic story. And at the end of the speech, their message was, "What is your story? What's your story?" And people think, okay, that was great. I go like, no, it's not. At the end of a story, you shouldn't go like, "Oh, that was a good story." you know, you want to be moved by it, and you want to be able to go like, "I didn't even realize there was a story. I was just following the whole thing." But the point of a story is not the story. The point of a story is what you became when you heard the story.
I'm doing a great job at the lightning round again, by the way. This always goes this way. We get into like rabbit, we get
It's
into
slow
rabbit holes.
motion. This is
It's
240 frames per second lightning.
absolutely slow lightning. I like it. What do you kids think you do? If I were to ask your kids, what does your dad do? What would they say?
That's one thing that I really, really thought about recently. I've not told my kids what I do, so much so that when they prepare for presentations, they don't come to me, even though I could really make a difference for them. Um, they they know that I produce webinars. They know that I was an MC. They know that I was on radio. But I have to say, what I haven't done for them, which is a regret for me, is that I've never actually took them and said, "This is what I do," and showed them what I do. So I don't have them in the room with me while I'm doing the work I do, and sort of show and tell. And that's unfortunate. So some what do they think I do? I pay for things.
It's a very important job.
Oh yeah.
What is one thing you can do with your voice that will help your gravitas?
Learn to accept it. Learn to just be comfortable with the fact that your voice is what it is. So a lot of time is spent by people who speak on the idea that my voice isn't the right voice. And I want you to consider instruments in an orchestra, right? If you were to listen to all the instruments of an orchestra just playing a solo note, some instruments you would not imagine could be an instrument. If you ever heard a single note without all the modulations and stuff like that from a saxophone, it's not a pretty sound. If you've heard bagpipes kind of rolling up, you go like, not too sure about these things, right? Once you get this out of the way and you go like, this is the sound of my voice. What does it sound like when I am sincerely speaking with this instrument? And people will hear it. People will know. People may notice that you have a high voice, a squeaky voice, but you can tell that they believe what they're saying.
What's your best habit?
My best habit and my worst habit are all in the same. It's always looking at the other side, always understanding the different perspective. And it's really great when it comes to trying to solve problems and figure things out and unearthing the truth. It's terrible when your wife tells you something she wants your support on.
Scripted or spontaneous?
Rehearsed. And what I mean by that is rehearse all the various possibilities, think about all the different things, explore, build a library of things, and then spontaneously take out what is required in the time.
One word people should remove from presentations.
Actually, see, what I did with my choice there was a demonstration of gravitas. I went through the various things. I thought about it. And in that moment, you were going, you played along. You were playing the game. You wanted to guess what I was going to say, right? And ultimately, what I think about is I go, you have to think about enough things in life so that you have answers for everything. And you don't want to be in a hurry to answer straight away.
Final one then. For every solo professional working for themselves, why should they become better storytellers?
Because it will give you so much more than you deserve. If you do not learn the idea of storytelling, you're not going to be able to increase the value of what you do. And if what you do is just described with a task, then its value is just low because I can find somebody else who can do the task, right? As a solopreneur, I'm going to decide, why do I want you? Why do I see you as somebody who is worth the time? Now, look, if what you do is Fiverr work and you want to just get the volume, then you know what? That's fine, no problem, right? But if you want to start getting paid more for what you do, then the story about what you do has to be better. See, if you think about this, right? Why do I buy a Mercedes Benz? I've never bought one because I've never had the compulsion to do it. But if you ask someone who's got one why they buy the Mercedes Benz, they will tell you all the different reasons for it. It's like the technology and stuff and all that, but they will not be able to, and they probably won't articulate and go like, oh, it's because I actually feel a bit insecure about myself, and I need an external signal to feel stronger and better about things. Uh, what they're doing is they're buying something which has all that status around it, all the story around it, and the story is not just of the thing itself and not just the marketing, but it's also everybody else around as well, right? So, if you are, for instance, a solopreneur and you do good work for somebody well known, the fact that you do this work for somebody who's well known is in itself part of the story about why somebody else wants to do it as well. Oh, John's a guy with great taste, and he's getting you to do it. You know what? I'll do it as well. If you want to get the big ticket, so you talk about Priestley, right? I mean, he is absolutely someone you should look at in terms of the story. He is completely about building the context, the circumstance, and the aura around the different people that he's done. And he's great. He's great at absorbing and taking on the benefit of the people around him, because it is the way he's built his business as well. When he wants to build something new, he goes into a new town. He does this nice thing, which is some kind of a big social, but a nice high status social, and he gets all the high status people together. And what happens is the story of that rubs off on him, and he becomes that guy that's woven into this great story as well. So that was my very, very long answer to the question that yes, if you want to make more money, if you want to have a long lasting career and a reputation, then a story is what people need to attach to you.
Nice. Story told with gravitas, conviction, and confidence. Joe, where can people find you?
Well, if you key in my name to a search engine, Joe Augustin, you will find it. And LinkedIn is probably the best place, you'll find me in respect to things like being a presentation coach. So on LinkedIn, and this is about knowing where your market is as well. On LinkedIn, I'm a presentation coach and I help people with storytelling. Elsewhere, you can go to my website, emcee.joeaugustin.com, and see what I do as an MC. And every now and then, people join me on things like trading and stuff like that, which I do more on a private basis. So that's usually something I talk about with people who already know me.
Thank you for that. I will leave the links below in the description. I want to say thank you so much for sharing so bigly and so generously. I picked up on things. You're a very interesting man with a very interesting background and a diverse string of interests. But now that I've talked to you, I can also see how it's all linked together. Wonderful to have you here.
Hey, thanks for the time, man.
As always, before I leave you my thoughts, I just want to say a massive thank you to Joe Augustin. Make sure you go check him out. I'll leave the links in the description below. And while you're there, you might as well sign up for my weekly newsletter called The Solo Sauce, like the podcast, where I share ideas for people on their independent and solo journeys. So here's some of my thoughts then. At what point Joe said something like, the point of the story isn't the story. It's about the impact of that. It's about what people become afterwards. Now that's worth exploring because many of us are spending a lot of time trying to sound smart, trying to sound clever. And I've been guilty of this, trying to add all little details in there and trying to add as much information as possible. But great communicators are not focused on themselves. They're focused on the audience and they're focused on what they want to happen afterwards. So whether you're creating content, pitching to a client, just explaining to somebody what you do, leading a workshop, the question for yourself then is, what do I want people to think or understand or feel or do differently after they've heard me? Because that's where communication stops being information and starts becoming influence. Anyway, just some thoughts for you. Make it a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode.